How's it going, NPC Nation? Welcome back to a brand new video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about what if Julius Caesar was not assassinated. So, everyone knows the famous story of Julius Caesar, how he died. A bunch of people plotted against him because he declared himself dictator for life. Well, to the Romans back in his day, a dictator was someone to save, the empire. At the time, it was a republic. After he died, it became the empire. After he died, it became the empire. So, before Julius Caesar died, though, it was a Roman republic. What we do today. But we don't have a dictator, we have a president here in the United States. But to them, a dictator is not someone we see that is awful or evil and stuff like that, which is today's standards. To them, it was someone that they appoint that they think who can save their country and stuff like that. Well, Julius Caesar was assassinated in 44 A.D. Not A.D., B.C. B.C. And when he passed, after they killed him, there was a civil war for his successor, and then Julius Caesar's nephew became his successor and took over, which would become the Roman Empire. But let's say Julius Caesar knew about the assassination, because to a Roman, dying out of nowhere, unexpectedly, not knowing it, was one of the best ways you can go. That's why when Julius Caesar died, it was probably the best way for him to go. Them just coming out of nowhere and just stabbing him. 13 senators stabbed him, but over 40 people planned it though. One of them was his best friend Brutus, because they thought, Julius Caesar was getting too powerful, and says he appointed himself dictator for life. Because he was appointed dictator, it was only originally for 6 months. Well, they did, so he went to Africa, they appointed him for dictator for a year. Then the next time they appointed him dictator, it was for 10 years. Well, then the first year he took over as dictator, Julius Caesar appointed himself dictator for life. So that was their problem. They got rid of a king. Rome was under a king, and then they got rid of that king, and they thought Julius Caesar was becoming a king. And becoming too powerful, and becoming a really bad dictator. And they thought Rome was going to be under his control forever. At the time, he was in his 50s, but he was with Cleopatra, had a son of Cleopatra, and all that stuff too. That's something that kings do. Has children with queens and stuff like that. And they didn't want a king. And they thought that Julius Caesar, since he made himself dictator for life, he was, evil and stuff like that. They didn't want him to be ruler, so they killed him. That's how they got rid of him. That's the only way they could get rid of him, since he appointed himself. But they appointed him leader, so that's their mess up right there. Let's say Julius Caesar knew about the assassination, so he got rid of all the senators and the Senate that tried to kill him. He was informed by the assassination, or it slipped up somewhere and he heard about it and stuff like that. And when he went into the Senate that day, the day he was supposed to get assassinated, he pretended he didn't know it. He brought bodyguards with him, and they took out the assassins there. They took out each and every senator, and he brought the Roman army, and they took out each and every senator that planned to kill him that day. Julius Caesar was now feared. This is the what-if scenario, by the way. Julius Caesar is now feared, and the Roman Republic does still become an empire, but its first leader is Julius Caesar, who was supposed to be the last leader of the Republic. Still is, but he becomes the first leader of the empire instead of his successor, which was his nephew. He now rules. Well, his successor his nephew was not really the first leader of the empire. I forgot who the first official leader of the Roman Empire was, but it wasn't his nephew. That was his successor. That's who Julius Caesar planned to be his successor anyways. Julius Caesar lives longer. He lives past his 50s, into his 60s, and probably die, and he'll die at like 75 in this what if scenario. He died at 75. He's conquered more land than Alexander the Great and will ever conquer. And then conquered more land than Genghis Khan would in years to come. Because Genghis Khan was decades later after Caesar and Alexander the Great. And the Roman Empire lasts longer under Julius Caesar because he's alive longer. So his successor still becomes his nephew. Julius Caesar's nephew still takes over more land, but this time they actually take over all of Africa. And they actually conquer a lot of land, and Julius Caesar becomes the greatest conqueror, and his new name will become Julius Caesar the Great Conqueror. Because he conquers more land than Alexander the Great did before him. And the Romans respect him, but he's also feared. He is feared for generations to come, and the line of succession is all of Julius Caesar's family. Italy is, and then eventually years later, let's go today to 2023, Italy does not have a prime minister. It has an emperor. What they got rid of before they became an empire, it stayed with them because the line of succession is Julius Caesar's family. His son that he had, his nephew, then his son that he had with Cleopatra, then his grandson, his son's son, and it goes down to today. If there is any descendant of Julius Caesar, that will be the emperor of all of Italy, not just Rome, of Italy. But eventually they changed the name of Italy to Rome. It's no longer called Italy, it's called Rome. The country is Rome, the capital is Rome. The Vatican City never becomes a country because there's no longer need for a pope. They kick out a pope, and they no longer have a pope. Rome disposes of the pope, and the pope goes somewhere else, and Vatican City was never able to become a country inside of Italy. And Rome is bigger. Italy, which was current day Italy, Rome changes its name to Italy. Rome, the new country, is now twice as big as it is now. It's parts of Greece, parts of Africa belongs to the Roman Empire. It's just territories. It is still an empire to this day. And Julius Caesar statues are all over the new country of Rome. It's not like a big empire. Like, they have territories, but it's not that big. Like, they finally conquer all of Greece, right? And Greece becomes a territory to Rome, which is the new country. Because under Julius Caesar's power, he's a great conqueror, he's a great warrior, he's a great general, and they can just conquer more land. And some of that land it's dissolved as an empire, though. It's no longer an empire. Like I know I said it still becomes an empire, but it has its territories. They like to be called the Roman Empire, but it's Rome, and instead of a president or prime minister, they do call their leader the emperor of Rome. He's like a king. They go back to being a king, and it's a complete monarchy instead of what they have now, a prime minister, and in Italy and Vatican City never becomes a country. The Pope is kicked out because Rome thinks, there's no need for a Pope, and we have an emperor. We don't need someone to compete with our emperor, so our king. So we kick him out and get rid of the papacy all together, and the Pope has to flee at the time. They start their own little church, but they never get as big as they would today. Catholicism and Christianity is still big, but it won't have its own country because the Rome the Roman Empire, which is the Kingdom of Rome now, that's what Italy changes its name to, is one of the most dominant countries in the world because Julius Caesar trained his nephew in the same battle tactics of him and became a great conqueror because there was no opposition. All of his enemies died the day Julius Caesar was supposed to be assassinated, and no one to stop him. He dissolves the Senate and kills not just the people that tried to assassinate him, but every single senator that day he was supposed to be assassinated. And it becomes the absolute monarchy / absolute dictatorship like they were fearing. But then it becomes just absolute monarchy with the Roman Empire and the Roman Emperor. Then they just keep the name Rome as the new country of Italy. That's what if Julius Caesar was never assassinated, in my opinion, what would have happened. I think Rome would have became an absolute monarchy, and it would have had some, like Greece would never, I think they would have officially conquered Greece, and just, made Greece like a territory of Rome, which they would change the name of Italy to Rome, and be an absolute monarchy. Like a dictatorship monarchy. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, press the share button, press the like button, press the red shiny subscribe button, press the bell so every time I upload a video. If you guys hear any background noises, I apologize. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.